Hi all, today we'll discuss about Java with Spring Boot microservices, Kafka, AWS, and ReactJS real-time interview questions. So the first question related for the core Java with Java 8. So what is the difference between hash map, linked hash map, and tree map? So most of the interviewer will ask the difference of hash map, linked hash map, and tree map. So hash map no order guarantee, linked hash map maintain insertion order, and tree map sorted by key. So use red black tree in the stream app. So this is the main difference of this. The next question is what is functional interface in Java 8? So functional interface only have one abstract method. It's called functional interface. There have runnable, callable, predicate functions. Now the next question is explain Steam API with example. So Java 8 Steam allow functional style operation. So this is the code snip like list.htm.filters where we have a lambda e greater than 10 collector dot to list. Now the next question is difference between optional dot of nullable and optional dot empty. So what is the difference? So optional dot of is not null, off nullable means maybe null, and empty means no value. Empty means no value, off nullable means maybe null, off means non-null, non-null. Now the next is explain the default and static method interface. So Java 8 allow default and static method interface is an interface for the backward compatibility. Now the next question is what does garbage collectors collections work in Java? So automatically memory management key component is young, old, and Premgen metaspace which is used for the garbage collection. Now the next question is what is the difference between final, finally, and finalize? Final is a constant, finally is exception handling block, and finalize is called the before GC deprecated. Now the next question is what is immutable class? How to make a immutable class? So use class as a final, field should be final, private constructor, no setter getter method. Use class as a final, field will be final, private constructor, and there is no setter. It's called immutable class. Now the next question is what is lambda in Java 8? So lambda in Java 8 is inline implementation of functional interface. This is the code snippet of like runnable R reference. Then here we have lambda which is using system.out.println hello. Now the next question is explain multi-threading and parallelism. So multi-threading in multiple interface and share the memory. Parallelism task executing truly simultaneously. Now the next question is related for Spring Boot microservices. So what is a Spring Boot? So Spring Boot is opinionated a Spring Boot framework microservice which embedded server support is called a Spring Boot application. The next is what is the difference between component service and repository notation? All are stereotype annotations but semantically different for the tools and AOP. Now the next question is what is a Spring Boot auto configuration? So use enable auto configuration to config beans based on the dependency, which is used to at the rate enable auto configurations. Now the next question is what is the role of application.property or application.yaml? So externalize configuration, port DB settings and profile. Now the next question is how do you secure a Spring Boot API? So use Spring Boot security with JWT, Auth2 or basic auth. The next question is what is microservices? Independent, loosely coupled, deployable unit force on single business capability. So that's why we use microservices patterns. Now the next question is how do you handle inter-service communications? So which need to be handled by REST, Fin client, gRPC, Kafka or RabbitMQ. Intercommunications. The next question is how do you implement API versioning in a Spring Boot? So API versioning we can have API slash v1. So headers versioning like x hyphen API versioning and parameter versioning. Now what is circuit breaker in microservices? So prevent cascaded failures like resilience 4J or Hystrix, which is used for the circuit breaker. Now they explain the difference between service discovery in a Spring Cloud. So service discovery, which is used for the Eureka, Nescos, for the registry, client registered and discover other services. Now the next question is related for Spring Boot and Kafka. So what is Apache Kafka? So it's distributed event streaming platform which is used for the real-time data pipelines. The next question is what is integrated Kafka with a Spring Boot? So use Spring Kafka, define Kafka listener at the rate Kafka listener, configuration, producers, consumer properties. Now the next question is what is Kafka topic and partitions? So topic a stream of data, partitions is parallel unit of topic for the scaling. So topic which is used for the stream of data and partitions which is used for parallel unit of topic for scaling. Now the next question is how does Kafka ensure a message ordering? So message ordering with message with the same key to go with the same partitions. Order guarantee within partitions. The next question is how do you handle Kafka message failure in a Spring Boot? So we can use retry mechanism, dead letter topic, and manual acknowledgement to handle the failure message in a Spring Boot with the Kafka. The next question is what is difference between RabbitMQ and Kafka? Kafka is log-based distributed. RabbitMQ is queue-based or message broker. The next question is explain consumers group and offset. So group multiple consumers reading from the topic and offset is position in partitions. So group is multiple consumer reading from the topic and offset is position of the partitions. So the next question is how to configure Kafka with multiple consumer. So each consumers in the group reads from the distinct partitions. The next question is what is the role of Kafka producer and consumer. So Kafka producers send the data to the topic. Consumers read the data from the topic. Now, how to monitor the Kafka performance. So use Kafka Manager, JMX Metrics, Spring Boot Actuators, Prometheus, Grafana to monitor the Kafka performance. Now the next question is related for AWS for Java developer. So how do you deploy this Spring Boot application in AWS? So we use AC2 instance, Elastic Beanstalk, ECS, Lambda with API gateway. Now the next question is what is Amazon S3? AWS S3 how to use? So S3 is object storage used AWS SDK to upload and download the file. Now the next question is how does AWS CloudWatch work? Monitoring service for meters, log, alarm. Now the next question is what is IAM user? So IAM in AWS. So IAM is identity access management which is used for the users role permissions for the AWS resource. Now the next question is what is AWS Lambda? So AWS serverless functions executions. So use Java handler for events. The next question is what is difference between EC2 and ECS? So EC2 virtual machine, ECS container orchestration. Now the next question is how do you secure a Spring Boot app in Java AWS? So use a IAM role, HTTP security, security group, WAF, parameter stores, secret manager. Now the next question is explain the uses of RDS in Java applications. So manage DB service, connect using JDBC URL and credentials. Now the next question is how do you use AWS SNS SQS with the Spring Boot? So use a Spring Boot Cloud AWS and configurations message listener. Now the next question is what is API gateway in AWS? So exposes HTTP endpoint for lambdas, EC2 support throttling and auth. Now these all are the React related interview questions. So ReactJS interview questions. So what is virtual DOM in React? So a lightweight copy of the real DOM to optimize the UI rendering. Now the next question is what is functional component and hook? Functional functions returning JSX, hook use state, use defect and features. Use effect and features. Now the next is difference between use effect and use layout effect. So use effect is used for the after paint, and use layout effect means before paint blocking. Now the next is how to manage state in large app. So use context API, reduce, recoil, and just chain. Now the next question is how to call backend applications API from the React. To use to fetch or annexes inside use effect. The example next question is explain the role of key proper in React list. So help React identify which items change, added or removed. The next question is what is JSX? So JavaScript XML syntax extension which is used to write a React element. Now the next question is what is prop drilling? So passing props through many levels, solution, context, API or state management. Now the next question is what is lazy loading in React? So loading component on demand using React, lazy and suspense. The next question is how do you handle form in React? So we have to handle controlled component with on change and state or using form pick. So these all are the top 50 real-time interview questions which is related for React, AWS, Kafka, Spring Boot, microservices, Java with Java 8. Yeah, thank you.